Welcome everybody to the Sonicast. That's what we're calling it, our Sonic podcast. And
Absolutely.
I'm joined with Rudy Davis, expert in the Sonic things.
Absolutely. Childhood fan, longtime fan. Uh, here
Yeah,
to give my little 2 cents on this event I have been following since the beginning, since before Sony had the rights to this movie. Uh, Very excited to share my point of view on all this today in the kind of recent events.
yeah. And so we're making this because the Sonic trailer just came out. And so what do you think of it in general?
So, so number one, I don't mind the live action thing. I like that they filmed it in the real world. Like that's okay. Like a lot of people were immediately harped by that, and they were like totally discouraged, and that was the final straw before the movie was even like uh, in production. And I don't really think that's such a bad when the world is full of all these beautiful places, like the there's like that are even really well suited to like how the Sonic universe kind of works. Like you got like beautiful tropical islands in the Pacific and all these wonderful places you could film this movie. But where it really falters is they decided to film this movie in the Pacific Northwest in
Yeah.
San Francisco, and that's where it was like, huh, okay, all right, well, let's see what the CGI does for it, and oh, um, that's also uh, that, that's just a whole nother thing. But where was I? We're talking about
The like kind of the setting of the Sonic.
yeah, the setting. Boy, um, that they really set themselves up for something because you think of a video game, a classic platformer. The whole point is to suspend your disbelief and make you believe in this fantastical place, and they just did the absolute opposite. They give you this ridiculous thing, this just blue thing, uh, and they put
Yeah.
it in Western North America with the military and even in Jim Carrey himself, I don't really mind because he's this crazy fantastical character. Like he can pull that off. He can be in this suspenseful world with all these crazy things happening. Like watching The Mask and stuff like that. It's he's really great at that. But
Mm-hmm.
um, you just gotta think, what were these guys thinking when they were making?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking it's like it kind of reminds me a lot of like the kind of the Transformers movie where it's the military and it's got like people, but then they're gonna try to like hide like Sonic. It just reminds me of just every generic 2000s movie, or like action movie. Like it just doesn't ring anything like kind of creative to it. I don't know. It's just so weird.
Yeah, it's like they took it's like they took Transformers one and were just like, okay, here's Sonic.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't really like. Oh man, that's such a cool thing. But yeah, I just it's a lot of weird things in the movie. Like oh god, what was one of the things? Gangster's Paradise playing in the trailer. That's I don't know why he's a cassette of Gangster's Paradise. That's just still like kind of really weird, but I don't know. What else? Uh,
Yeah, the Gangster's Paradise was that one really caught me off guard, and it caught a lot of people off guard. We're like,
yeah,
what with the with the fan base that is almost like a good portion is just there for like the music and the art,
mm-hmm.
and uh, they pick for the trailer that's going to get everyone hyped for this. Hype up the old fans so they get a hold of all like these people, so that they hype up the movie for everybody. Kind of like how people wanted to hype Detective Pikachu, so they're being all like honest to they're sort of share they got all these wonderful renders and stuff. They're trying to get everybody hyped.
Yeah,
Instead, it's like the opposite. They're trying to go with this generic like '90s
yeah.
like rap song. Like I don't even mind. Like I like Gangsta's Paradise. It's just not.
Yeah.
It is not Sonic.
Yeah, it's not really Sonic at all. It's just kind
Like
of it's weird.
they couldn't like have like the remastered version of like City Escape or something.
Yeah, like because a lot of those
I
kind of
don't
things
know.
could really fit in, or like even like just a remaster like of like some kind of theme, like if for like Green Hill Zone, but it's like kind of Rockford. I don't know, like whatever, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something like that. I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't even just some cinematic music at all like would have been kind of a discredit just because of like you're trying to get people hyped for something in a minute and a half trailer, and you're trying to make it seem like more Sonic-y. It's like they're not even trying. It's like they don't care about the license they bought at all. They're just like, okay, we got to make this movie. We got to make it
Yeah,
quick. We're gonna get in and out. No Survivor.
yeah.
And
Well, the thing is, so everyone's been kind of griping on the Sonic kind of redesign of it, and I my personal thinking is because the plot is probably going to be he's kind of transported from his world into our world, and so I think, and then when he gets back into our world, I think he's going to have that more kind of weirder design where he looks more like a hedgehog. You know what I mean? Instead of like his classic design. I think that's where the design comes
huh.
from, but it's still kind of weird. The
So,
design is
so you're
still.
saying?
He's like
I'm
gonna
sorry, you're cutting out a little on me.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying like he's like kind of transform like halfway like through, or like when he
Oh,
gets
you're
into
saying
our
like
world.
he goes back to his home world, his home universe, and he becomes this kind of like cartoony thing we know.
Yeah, yeah, like the regular Sonic. But then when he's in our
It's
world,
that would be funny because you see Eggman kind of like crack up at the end of the movie, and you see like this fantastical like mushroom world in the background. Like that would be cool.
y-
That would be a fun way to end it if they were going to do it that way. But they just
yeah,
then they made an hour and an unlikable like character. I'm not gonna lie. So here's something that I heard. This guy, he's some call me Johnny. He said
hmm,
he's got this YouTube channel. He does like reviews on games and all that.
yeah,
He
yeah,
he had his reaction video. He was saying, "Man, this isn't even so bad. It's very generic, but if the model were just reworked a little bit, it wouldn't be so bad because it looks great in motion. It looks great when he's kicking ass, flying down on these robots and stuff. Like he looks like Sonic-y. And like these, I don't know what's up with the lightning effects. Are they trying to be like the Flash? But
yeah, yeah,
but as soon as he stops to do anything, the model is just so horrible at portraying humor or emotion or any kind of like. There's no appeal in this. It's just really gross.
yeah. I just hate his like teeth. It's just kind of his like smaller eyes. It's just the teeth are
Yeah,
just too human. Like they're not even like an
there's like
animal. It's
it's
like
kind of like there's no connection to any source material.
yeah. It just kind of reminds me of like that Uncanny Valley kind of thing. Yeah.
But I mean, here's some good things that came out of this. I mean, they got so Sonic's voice actor for the past few years for his games has been kind of out of place, in my opinion. He's a guy who does the. It's Roger Craig Smith. He's done like Batman. He's done like other cartoon characters. He's not like he's got this grainy, like not. I would think a cartoony voice. Like
Mhm.
he's voicing Batman in Arkham. This is a gritty like voice actor, and I'm really glad they just found like a different one for this film. Although I'm not sure that's gonna matter at this point. But
Yeah.
I think he's more known for the more cartoony side of things,
Hmm.
and that's really cool. if it worked for the model, like he would portray some really great emotion in that trailer, just without, uh, having seen the movie. Obviously, we can't really know his performance, but I know
From
that's the big thing amongst fans is voice.
Yeah, I don't think he's did that bad of a job in the trailer. I think he'll be probably do pretty well because he's kind of known for a lot of stuff. So I don't think he's. I think Paramount, or I think it's Paramount, right? Who produces? I think they know
Yeah, it's Paramount.
who to get for this kind of stuff. So I don't think he's that bad. I think Jim Carrey's me the more interesting thing because since like the '90s, he hasn't had like that much of a success in a lot of movies. I'm trying to think of something. He's done The Grinch. He's since the '90s. What else has he
Yeah,
really done? I'm trying to remember. Can't really.
I know he's done a few cartoons.
Yeah, but he's not gotten to that level where he kind of had like because we used to watch Ace Ventura as kids like all the time, and that's still like ridiculously funny. So a lot of that kind of stuff is like I'm hoping he's gonna get to those kind of points again where it's just like it's really kind of more cartoony and more in line, I guess, with like Eggman and that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping for something like that.
Uh, yeah, I'm so sorry. You're cutting out a lot. Okay, I missed like half of that.
Oh,
I
I was
wasn't
just
really.
saying like I'm hopeful for Jim Carrey to really do a great
Oh yeah,
performance like in '90s kind of stuff.
he he's like the only hope for this movie. Honestly,
Yeah.
um, he he's got a. I'm a little worried because like the way the trailer starts, he's a little bit unlikable, but like um, it's like maybe that's just one scene, and I hope that's just an exaggeration of his like arrogance. That's fine as a character like that. So like the only thing I'm worried about is like hopefully like in the robots in the movie like in Sonic you have these weird like moto bugs and stuff. Whereas they've got these like weird Terminator like they look robots like they're just not really in place. They're not right.
Yeah.
And like and maybe later in the movie it'll transition kind of like to these more weird robots like
That would actually be kind of cool when they go into like because it looked like they were in some like mushroom place. What I'm guessing is like Sonic's world. I'm guessing that's what they're gonna do with it.
yeah
So they're gonna have like a
these
lot of
are
other characters transform or something into more like cartoony versions of themselves, I guess. Or maybe it's just at the end Eggman goes insane or something and then gets his new kind of costume. I don't know.
yeah he gets his mustache all blown out and his
And his glasses like break or whatever, like
yeah
something like that. So a little bit ago, you're talking to me about the plot where you heard from sources or something. Can you like kind of
oh
elaborate on that?
so the whole plot of the movie is just you know I mean the trailer kind of like exposes you to the first half. I mean it's
Mm-hmm.
Sonic goes by uh, James Marston's cop character finds evidence of this and tracks him down. Sonic has to explain to him that he has to save his. I don't know what that connotates if he how long he's been out of his world, etc. But that means they have to go do something. It's not really revealed, but it brings them to San Francisco, where Sonic is ultimately captured somehow.
Yeah. It looks like the
and
movie's
and
gearing to that. Yeah.
and that part bothers me because that means like the climax of the movie is James Marston's character and not Sonic.
Yeah.
The movie called Sonic the Hedgehog, so like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just like a kick in the nuts. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I I'm a little I have an open mind, I guess, because it's just an hour and a half movie for kids, really. That's I mean I'm just an adult reflecting on my childhood here, but it does not represent anything I've seen come from Sega and and I don't know why this happen if they did not communicate well with anybody, if they just were like,
just like make a movie, you know, it's just like do something, make a movie, make some money, that's fine.
it just seems like there's so many places they could have gone right,
Mm-hmm.
and they just and someone who like whoever wrote this movie was just like, I've never ever seen any like I grew up in 1970 and I've never seen anything Sonic related, and I'm just gonna write this. It's the Smurfs. I don't know.
Yeah. The weird thing is I don't know because I was also watching like someone else because everyone has talked about the Sonic trailer about now. I think there's about like 10 billion videos on YouTube now, but they're talking about it where they're like they weren't sure who this was aiming to. Was it aiming to longtime fans, or was this aiming to new fans like kids that they want to get into the Sonic thing? And it just seemed like it was just kind of a weird blend of the both.
Yeah, that's the part that gets me too, because they're not like they're a little cryptic with like what he can do and all of that. So like by the end of the movie, he's like he threw like a ring to like some other part of the world like that. He can't do that. So I'm like, okay, that's just something different. And apparently they do want. Apparently, there's been rumors of a desired. I can't even say these words because it sounds horrible. A video game tie-in.
Oh no!
And I'm like, no. Unless they fix some things, but that's a little late now. But
yeah, especially for I guess if they had some like third-rate studio kind of just like pump it out in the summer or something, and then they release it in fall. You know,
well, you gotta think this. Last year around this time. So, it wouldn't be impossible to pump out a new set of animation models and effects in about 5 months. Especially since it's like one character they would have to change, and if they spectacular effects and all that, then that's fine, I guess. But they could easily pump the animation out. They just it would cost a bit, and I don't know if it would really change anything in the long run. So
yeah, I don't know. The one thing is Sonic is the only real game that's coming up is the Sonic Team Racing, I think. Is it Sonic Team Racing?
Yeah, it's just a kart racing
Sonic?
game.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird that they really didn't set up this furtherhand, where they kind of had like something else, like even just something that's not based on the movie, but they have like some kind of game coming out with it.
Yeah, you license this giant promotional movie release, and you don't plan on releasing a major title. It's like,
yeah,
they're just so. That makes me think that they're just so all over the place, and that Sega America, had no influence on this project whatsoever, and it shows. Like,
yeah, they're probably just like, because they originally wanted to make a movie back in, was it 2016 or something?
Yeah, they wanted to make this as soon as 2015. That's when they first started buying licenses and throwing the idea around to Sony and a few other companies. And Sony was like, okay, we'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then some leaks happened that ended up on WikiLeaks because of some big thing with Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And we found out a little bit more about it. And that it was not really happening. There was no progress on it. And eventually, they told everyone they sold it to Paramount, and that's when it started to get developed, which was like cool. But by that point, where had the communication gone? And so Paramount's doing this thing, and now halfway along the line, we're saying, "Holy crap, what is this?"
Yeah,
it's like this is not really. I think the product that anyone wanted in the first place. So
I don't know. It's just. I don't know. They showed very little of it, so it's really hard to say if the movie's gonna be like this or like this, because I don't know if you watched the Shazam when the trailer first launched, it didn't look that good, but it ended up being like an okay movie. So
yeah, I saw the trailer too, and I was like, you know what, this would actually be funny.
Yeah,
I hope people like it. If they don't, I feel bad, but like I see why people might. It might end up terrible, but
yeah, and I didn't mind it. I was like, okay, this is fun. Like, it's just a fun movie. So Sonic could take that route where it could take itself a little bit less seriously or something, and then could.
people think they're trying to be self-aware about this. People think there's this guy who made a video saying like they know exactly what they're doing. Like they're making this really awful translation, kind of like it's kind of like seeing a live action Ninja Turtles movie. Like you have like on 2D these characters are all cute and like kind of fun, and then on like these 3D Ninja Turtles movies you have these ugly ass turtles, and they're like you know, nothing you'd want to look at too long. But
Yeah.
they're saying they're self-aware in this, saying they're trying to make the most like cringy trailer possible, and then they're gonna like either fix it or just go with it and like have it be like a really not expected movie. Like it's gonna kind of parody itself, and I don't believe that. That's kind of like a load to me. Like
Yeah, it seems like that's a lot of like just kind of too much for most movie studios where it's kind of I feel like they're just going to try to like deliver what their product is rather than kind of tricking them.
For their target audience and what the movie is, it is not a joke. This is what they're putting out
Yeah.
there. And it's not the end for this. This could get a lot better. It's not going to be ideal for fans. I don't think this is a movie for new to the series kids, etc. And I don't really mind that. That's fine.
Yeah,
They're doing what they're doing to it.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to so then sales probably can go up for the games or something. So when they're actually trying to sell more games, because recent games have not had the greatest of sales. Sonic Mania was pretty good. Sonic Mania, I think, sold like 1 million.
Basically, what Sega's been trying to do for about almost 10 years now is they constantly try to rebrand the Sonic franchise. So maybe it'll take off on the younger audience, whereas they've had a following for a while, and while that following's great, they love the content like Sonic Mania that they produce.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of content will always be bought because it's something people like. It's something people have always loved. But they keep rebranding the same games over and over again, and they have no idea what people are going to buy, what kids are going to buy, because you have the products of like Sonic Lost World, which tries to be a lot like Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole catastrophe of Sonic Boom, which tries to be like just a cartoon license game, which hopefully would sell well. Not.
Yeah.
And then you have this, and since 2009, this transition's been happening, and it's not bad for the series because the series has always been changing, but the changes were usually abrupt and popular, and they're kind of in this stagnant period where they don't know what to do with their own license. So it's been kind of grim for longtime fans or new fans that are like, what is this garbage?
Yeah, for the podcast, I tried to record some Sonic 2 footage, but the file got corrupted for whatever reason. So then I went to the Sonic of the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Secret Rings or whatever. That's how I have that on the Wii, and it's like actually like one of the worst games on the Wii. It's such a weird concept, and it just is so poorly done. There's a weird thing. There's a full button for braking, and I'm like, okay, that means that this is a bad game if it's a Sonic game and there's braking in it. That's a core mechanic. Yeah. You take forever to jump. It's like you have to hold down the jump button to actually get any height with a jump. It's like
yikes.
And it's also just like a side scroller platformer, I guess. Is that what you would call it? But
yeah, it's on. People say it's on rails.
Yeah, it's like a on rails platformer. That's probably the proper title. But it's just
that's right about when they started going. We need to change our franchise because they'd sold enough on their like edgy adventure formula kind of thing with Sonic 06 kind of being a wake up call, and then Unleashed sold well. It just that was another time they tried to change their formula up,
Oh god, it's
and
such
then
a
around
conflict.
2010, that's where it was like, all right, we're changing everything. Here's Sonic Colors. It's back to the basics, I guess, and that sold well. And then Sonic Generations exaggerated the back to the basics kind of thing, and that
Yeah.
sold very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, let's change everything again. I beats me, but I don't know. There'll always be a place for that franchise to sell,
Mm-hmm.
for platformers, for just the appeal of the franchise in general is not going away anytime soon. It's just, boy, do they not know how to market anything.
Yeah.
I don't know what. It's just historically, I don't know what's up with Sega. Like, I love early 2000s 90s Sega. It's the wackiest, most bizarre thing. Even in stuff that's not like their own content. Like if you look at the F-Zero GX for like the GameCube and stuff, that is the wackiest stuff I will ever like see on that console. Like if you look at some of the animations they've done for it and like the character design, it is such a weird title, and that's what people like about I think that's what people identify with Sega and Sonic, that they just don't want to like continue anymore, is this wacky, bizarro, like kind of like feel they had to all their 90s and early 2000s games that it's just gone. The art style is gone.
Yeah.
This whole like Jet Set Radio kind of thing with like all that stuff. Like they don't need to continue those old series. I'm just saying like there was some appeal to their style and their design of things that I don't know who they kicked out or what happened when they stopped making their own licensed games for their own consoles. But something went away, and I can't quite figure it out.
That was like the whole Dreamcast vibe. I just think about, whenever I think about the Dreamcast, I think of the game Seaman, where it's this kind of this fish which has a human face on it, and you just kind of talk to it, and it's just like you have a microphone hooked up to the controller. It's like kind of exactly what you're talking about. It's just
no one else on that era of consoles would have made a game where you talk to a 3D fish with a human face, voiced by Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, it's a voice by Leonard. Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh,
so
jeez.
The fact that they did that is absolutely insane. But you know what? It added to this art style and this fandom of Sega that was just this absolutely over the top insanity.
Yeah.
And it leaked a little into the GameCube era, like, and you had these games like Billy Hatcher and stuff too that kind of had that same vibe. And then it's just stopped. It just stopped. As soon as you hit that next generation of consoles, they're like, okay, we're just going to become this generic third party again.
Well, I bet they saw the sales of the Dreamcast and saw, I think a lot of the games in the GameCube sold pretty well, but I bet it was this kind of Dreamcast vibe. They're like, okay, let's try to go and brand with a lot of other of these like these other console makers and game makers that are doing way better than us right now. So then, because Dreamcast is kind of known as like the system that failed really bad. That's kind of like its whole vibe to it.
Yeah. And I don't really think it was inherently Sega's. Well, I mean, it was, but it was their fault it failed. But I mean, it was really more for the lack of games and lack of availability of the console.
Yeah.
It just didn't. If it initially didn't sell well, no one wanted their game on it, and it was just it was a victim of the fact that the saturation of the market for consoles had finally stopped. And I mean, it's probably for the better in the end that there are less consoles. I mean, shoot, what am I trying to say? All I mean is they had something going with their adventure series with like the art style, just the way things looked in that game were a lot more.
Yeah.
The way they had to render things in the Dreamcast made everything more immersive and cartoony than realistic, and like the disbelief was suspended in those games because of how cartoony the Dreamcast rendered everything. The color palette they had to use to pull that off, like
the voice animation. I just think of the cutscenes where it's just going, they got their voices moving.
That part was lesser, but
Yeah. No, I think if like kind of have those kind of adventure games and then just tune up the game like gameplay so it's more like kind of in line with a lot of like because the gameplay's it's okay in like GameCube, but in Dreamcast it's pretty passable at some points. But if they just tune that up and then just make the make the gameplay better overall, I think they really could have something that really like could sell to older fans and newer fans alike without kind of this missing
for
the mark
sh-
with both.
for sure, like if they just had something that was more like I don't know, it's they don't need to do all these callbacks and stuff. I'm sick
Mm-hmm.
of callbacks, like
Yeah.
Sonic Mania Generations, all that stuff. Like, do another title with new cast, new voice actors, new art, new stuff. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't forget the source content. Don't forget
Don't
that.
forget why it was popular in the first place.
Right. Don't make Sonic slow.
It's like
I
the
don't
same
know.
thing that like why Mario is still successful is kind of sure he reinvents himself every like couple of years, but like it's done in a way where it still keeps that kind of Mario vibe. Like
Yeah.
him throwing a hat seemed would be like the weirdest thing like 5 years ago, but it makes sense for Mario because it's still Mario. He's jumping around, he's doing whatever. You explore, you get to the things. It's Mario that's
Well,
still been around since like '85, I think.
it's like if you showed me Super Mario 3,
Mm-hmm.
Super Mario Sunshine, and then Mario Odyssey, all you have is a streamlined change
Yeah.
over time of added features, things that don't ruin the features that they
Mm-hmm.
added, and like in a fun way to keep it all going. And it's like
Yeah.
they're all very fun games, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. It's like they just know how to sell their own titles, and without changing them too much, they can do these new things. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's up with Sega. They just are cursed, or they
Yeah.
just don't know how. They're just very, like I keep saying, they're just poor at marketing. They just don't know what people want,
Mm-hmm.
and that's difficult to do. Like you can't just supplying a product doesn't mean people want it, and that's difficult. But basically, if I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years with that franchise because this is kind of if everything is as bad as I think it is, they're either going to have to change a lot, sell some kind of license, or it's going to kind of die
Yeah.
a slow death, and that's just sad. It's not that I'm even a hardcore fan anymore. It's just like to see something from a lot of people's childhood just kind of start to fade away into obscurity like that
Mm-hmm.
because of they just couldn't compete.
Yeah.
And, it's just crazy, and I mean there's just an era of time that has been forgotten, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't think the brand of Sonic will ever die itself because he's just kind of so famous on like on
Yeah,
internet. It just
it's
kind of, but I think the game sales will just kind of slowly kind of trickle down, so it's less and less people kind of because after you see one failure after another, like everyone was hopeful for Forces to come out, and then it was just kind of like oh, well, it's just another kind of generic game, you know.
yeah. Whoever's on their team right now, I hate to say this, but they are kind of a bunch of hacks.
Yeah.
You can't brand something one way and then continue doing what you're. Um, that's essentially what they did with that, and it was really kind of a. They tried to make it seem like they're making a different style of game. They're trying to do something different, and then they just literally made kind of a generation's callback, but it's really short.
Yeah, I heard you can beat the game in like 3 hours, which just
Yeah,
seems for like a 60 or I think it was $60 price tag. That's just kind of ridiculous, you know.
yeah,
Like,
it's still like $30-$40.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, was it actually they released at $30?
it was released at 50 or 60.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I was
Now
just
it's
gonna
cheap.
Like that's just
But
a kind of crazy, like you have all these other games that can like for at least kind of bare minimum nowadays is like 40 hours of gameplay, and just have that kind of it just feels so weird. I'm hopeful for the Sonic brand and like Sonic Mania. I think that's because I think it's made by fans who are
yeah,
now
yeah,
game
it was literally just
developers.
a few people who were really good with the original source content for the original three games, and
Hmm.
they knew how to like mess with it, and they're like, why don't we? Sega came to them and was sort of mobile for us. We'll pay you, and that worked out really well for them. And they ended up enhancing almost every version of the original games. So
Yeah.
except for three, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But that is a weird one because it's split into two parts. It's
Hmm.
going to do with it, but the
Yeah.
fact that that sold so much better than what Sonic Team is doing shows that they really have a bunch of people who are not in the interest of their own franchise. Like if they want to make money off of property, they need to hire new people. And I don't know. I feel like that's a mean thing to say, but geez, they've had 10 years and they have not developed any sell point for the series anymore. It's just the same thing.
Yeah, and like by the Sonic team, I can't really think of a game that's like I when did Generations come out? That came out
2011.
2011. Okay.
That's
So,
it's a while ago now.
yeah, just like I can't really a lot of games have just been flops. It's just kind of like it's kind of I would love to see some like kind of platformer like in this by the Sonic team that kind of I don't like a 3D platformer that's like kind of really like wow, that's the Sonic platformer of the new generation. The like
Yeah.
3D one they want to play.
So like Last World was in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know what it was. It was the
I heard it was just okay. It's just kind of like it's okay. Like but then you also have like on the Wii U, I think it was originally released on. You have like all these other great platformers, and it
right.
just really gets swarmed down to like because there was like Rayman Legends at least at launch. There's Rayman Legends, New Super Mario Bros. U, later's new Super Mario World, 3D World or whatever. I think it just kind of got just
Yeah,
forgotten about.
yeah. The Wii U as a market was saturated, and it did not
Yeah.
sell well
Yeah.
enough for games to sell well
I
enough.
was the one Wii U owner that was over like six.
Yeah, and I mean, I wanted a Wii U. It just was
Yeah.
like,
It's just that there
uh,
wasn't anything on it. I bought it at like launch, hoping there was gonna be more stuff to it, but then there really never was. I still enjoy a lot of the games. There's like some great games. I'm glad they're getting ported on the Switch because Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was such an underrated game at launch that now it's getting some more love when it's on the Switch, and that's great. But
yeah, I'd like plenty of Wii U ports for the Switch. And
mhm.
while we're talking about that, like ports for the Switch and all
Yeah.
that, and we're talking about
In our
classic
Sonic
game
cast, we're talking
franchises.
about Wii U ports.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a big thing. Is
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah.
kind of passionate lately. Is Nintendo and their treatment of classic games. Like,
Hmm.
currently the only thing they're really offering right now to access their huge library of you can play on an NES, SNES.
Hmm.
All you can really do right now is use their Nintendo Switch Online thing,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like about 10 games or something. Uh, or you can buy one of their classic consoles, which still doesn't have everything, and it makes me worry about the future of old games and stuff, and not even on NES or SNES because a lot of that is already preserved in the way that people have ROMs.
Yeah, there's so many outlets you can get those games.
And I mean, while those are not going to be in the full quality of something Nintendo could probably supply at this point,
Hmm.
it's okay. What I'm worried about is consoles like maybe the N64,
Hmm.
GameCube, and even up to the Wii. At some point in the future, we have these larger, more complex file-based games that are going to be from my childhood that
Hmm.
I don't know if I'll ever see again, just because the
like
way old games get treated, how exclusive these titles are to those consoles. Uh,
yeah, I think like I was talking to my teacher about this because he's a Nintendo fan. We talked about when the Nintendo Online launched, and he was like, "Why don't they have like exclusive GameCube games? Why is it only NES?
yeah,
We've played these games like 100 times. They've been on Wii, 3DS, Wii U, like all these different titles. But then, like, why don't there's something new? Something like I bet a lot of GameCube fans, N64, that kind of stuff. I
right.
bet
The
that
most Nintendo's ever done in that respect was the Wii Shop, and that's long
yeah,
gone. So
yeah.
what happened to all those? What happened to the whatever emulator or whatever system they used to do all that? Why can't they enhance that and throw it on newer generation consoles? They must have this giant library sitting around of
Yeah,
ported titles. What the hell? Like I don't mean it's such a weird thing that I can't show someone Majora's Mask or something
mm-hmm.
because I don't own an N64. Sure, I can try to emulate it,
Yeah,
but it's just not conventional.
mm-hmm.
Even with newer graphics cards, you're going to have problems, especially since software for emulation gets older and older. People update it, and then certain things lag behind. Not all games will run, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's just disappointing because you're going to have franchises that no one's going to have known what the games are like in the future because they haven't gotten to play them. And I mean,
After a little bit, they did add N64 games to the Wii U, but it was when the Wii U was super dead. So no one knew about that they
yeah,
had games like N60 because I was just playing
yeah,
Majora's Mask like on my Wii U, and they still it's on there, but then no one's ever downloaded it because it was 4 years after it launched and it was completely
yeah,
dead by then.
yeah. A dead console. They launched a virtual
Yeah,
console finally,
yeah,
and that I don't know. I wish there was some way of obtaining those old games on a computer file-based thing.
mm-hmm.
Because I have this weird thing where I feel like information definitely needs to be archived like that because that's how you lose a lot of it at once. Is someone forgets about it for a while and then it's lost and then no one has access to it anymore and then it's like, well, whatever happened to this old collection of games? And like, I don't know, a few people have files somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Yeah, I think with Nintendo, I think they definitely have that kind of stuff because I don't think they're that dumb, but when it comes to online stuff, I feel like Nintendo just doesn't get it. Like they can make games that are really fun and they like are just instant classics, but then when it comes to anything else, the company just doesn't really understand. Like even
Yeah,
like making consoles, like the Switch is what the Wii U should have been. The Switch is like such a brilliant design,
absolutely.
and that's what the Wii U, because the Wii U has all the stuff there. It's just you can't move it away, and it's not like that should have
Yeah,
been part of it.
they tried to do this tablet thing, but
Yeah,
that totally voided the purpose of having the tablet because you have a
yeah,
home console with it.
and then you have to like charge it every 2 seconds, so it kind of does have a wire attached to it, so it's like a regular controller. It's just like
Yeah,
such a missed opportunity there, which
but yeah,
I'm glad they did it, but I think they know how to make games, but then everything else is like even the Wii, like the motion controls. If you're play after a while, your sensor bar just kind of like our sensor bar is just kind of dies after a while, so it just becomes
yeah,
the most inaccurate thing imaginable. It just like it's so bad, but
yeah.
I think
There's some
they know how to make games, but that's it.
yeah, and I agree that they definitely know how to sell something
Mm-hmm.
because like who would have thought you could play Skyrim on a device that small when it came out? I would have said no freaking way.
Yeah.
I can barely run this on my computer, and then lo and behold, like 6 years later, it's still a classic game. Still something people buy. You can
Mm-hmm.
play on a console that's 7 inches wide at the biggest with the controllers on. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy, and it shows how far we go with technology. And if we can go that far, why isn't there a classic archive?
Mm-hmm.
why isn't this something that carries over from Wii U to Switch? Like with all the titles we had on the Wii Shop. The Wii Shop was such a cool thing. You had
Hmm.
games that weren't even released in the U.S. originally that you could download.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You had like games like the Castlevania that was only ever released on like whatever like
Oh,
GFX or whatever is
yeah,
16-bit console. Like
yeah.
who would have
Some.
we would have never played that game if it weren't for the Wii Shop. So like
Hmm.
what no one would have played that game in the U.S. Shy of like re-releases and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
what's up? Like they just had. It's not that hard to like the files are so small. They just have to license. And licensing the games is probably the hardest part. It's and if they own the title to some of these, it's simple as putting it up there and saying, "Here you go." If you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, say, "Okay, you can access these titles for a fee." There you go. Obviously you wouldn't be able to download them or something, but
Hmm.
that, just something like that where they make an effort. Like
Yeah.
the issues you can say that, but why would you constantly say that emulation is fine or that it's illegal or that it's not a solution when you've kind of just settled on that? That's how people are going to play your older games as emulations. There's no way to get them.
Yeah, and then they also a lot of places like they have made Emu Paradise, I think it was called, like shut down, or
Yeah, they
like they that was an easy way to get a lot of like a lot of emulations. They like shut them down, and now it's like you have to go through more shadier kind of sites just to download
yeah.
emulated.
Nowadays, you basically have to find someone on Reddit who's got their own
Yeah,
archive because
yeah.
they're afraid of big people like Nintendo not really caring about it. So
That's like the kind of excuses sometimes when you have to resort to like emulation. Is kind of like, well, I'm not gonna spend like $100 just so I
yeah,
can play like Melee again. Like it's kind of like it just is like I don't want to do that. That's too much
yeah.
money.
And as much as I love GameCube titles, that's right. I'm not gonna pay $100 for the GameCube
Yeah,
and then like 60 a piece for the controllers
yeah,
and then $150 copy of Melee.
yeah.
Like
It's so
I love
expensive now.
Melee, but damn.
Yeah, it just got into that kind of point where it's just like you kind of like and it just you kind of have to just emulate if you really want to play those games if you, and you don't have your copy from like
Yeah,
2001.
2002.
Yeah, it's just kind of
And,
it's so weird.
and I feel like this all segues back into what are
Hmm.
people taking from the selling point of all this is people
Like
people like nostalgia.
yes,
Nostalgia
that's how I was
sells,
gonna is
and
people like the games they played as kids.
people really like the games they played as kids. I definitely wish I had a GameCube. It's like my number one thing is either get a Wii
Yeah.
or a GameCube at this point,
Hmm.
so I can play it on it. Probably sell my flat screen TV and get an get a one of the box
Oh, the
4:3
CRT,
CRTs.
yes.
Uh,
Oh my god.
it's crazy. You would think with all the features and all that stuff, no one would care, but it's like
Hmm.
it's the simplicity that sells. It's the subtle simplicity and the remembering how you had to explore the first time, and
Hmm.
I don't know. And so seeing that nobody nobody at Paramount is inspired
Yeah.
by the simple things, the original content, the time they spent in the Dreamcast era that sold the game for many years.
Hmm.
It, it's discouraging. That's all.
Hmm. It's yeah, it just feels like they're really kind of out of touch and like you said, like nostalgia is a big like factor and just seems like it's trying to go like for both audience and newer and like people who grew up with it, but then it seems to miss both with its
Like
kind of design.
they're trying to sell a '90s nostalgia a little, and I don't know
Yeah.
why because it's not really
Yeah.
it's not really related to the movie. It's like
Yeah.
okay, we'll put in Gangsta's Paradise and put in
That came out in
Jim
the
Carrey.
90s, right? That's the same kind of thing. You heard that on the radio, you played the games.
Yeah, and and so it just so happens I think Jim Carrey is a great choice anyway. But
Yeah, I
just boy, will the next few months be a little bit crazy for people who were looking at that movie for a long time, like me, and
hmm
are now like, oh man, oh jeez.
The only person I think could play Eggman better is probably Danny DeVito. If we got Danny DeVito in there, he's literally just an Eggman himself. Just have him in there. That would be the
Uh,
like that would be the
I don't.
funniest thing.
I don't think that guy wants to do kids movies.
No.
Honestly, uh, I think someone asked him to voice Pikachu for the Pikachu movie,
Oh yeah, I heard
and
about
they were like, he was like, "What the hell is a Pokemon?"
that. I'm not
Like,
doing this. And then they
yeah.
saw Ryan Reynolds was like, okay, he can sell anything. We'll just have him in there.
For some reason, that was a surprisingly good choice too. I don't know what's up
Yeah.
with that.
It
Um,
it makes the Detective Pikachu really different from like any other Pikachu, where it's kind of like, okay, it's his own character. He's got this kind of adult man's voice. It's not like a little like Pikachu, that kind of thing. And it kind of just yeah, it just kind of works a lot better.
I like how Ryan Reynolds went from trying to be like a B grade actor to being the voice of really famous like movie characters. Like
Yeah.
you got Deadpool, and
hmm
I guess he's technically in the Deadpool movies, but like most of the time he's CGI.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's just funny how he transitioned from kind of being like a physical actor to what he is his role now. It's kind of a vocal actor.
Yeah, it's a I feel like Deadpool really put him on the map, I think. Cuz that was
Yeah.
that was the biggest or maybe still the biggest rated R movie of all time. It's just kind of
Yeah,
like that was one thing I immediately was like, "Oh, Ryan Reynolds household name."
yeah. Deadpool really fulfilled the the kind of crazy nihilist
Yeah.
obsessed culture we have now,
Yeah.
and it's it really shows. So,
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else to talk about the Sonic kind of the state of Sonic right now or whatever?
oh boy. Other than the 3D model looked like a potato.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's still a yikes. I don't know why he's got tufts of hair that comes out as he's shedding. It's
Yeah, right.
they pull it out of him or something. I don't know. That's
Yeah, I tried making like a parody video. It didn't really get just because of I don't know. It's too niche of a thing to make, I guess. But
hmm
I, he's just what? I just want to end this on a positive note.
hmm
Paramount, like the director or Jeff Fuller or whatever,
hmm
on his Twitter was like, okay, I have gotten overwhelming, absolutely negative feedback. Like he didn't say this directly, but he basically said, if I ignore
hmm
this, I am a complete wad. Like I am so sorry. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say I am changing this. We're all gonna work to change this. I hope everybody has a positive outlook to this movie. I want everyone to see this movie still. I'm sorry. He
Yeah.
basically had an apology tweet, and so I hope that means something. But from what I know, that really doesn't.
hmm
It could be just a shot in the dark to say, please see this movie still. um,
Even if it is like the worst movie of all time or some like crazy like it's still the like kind of follows the trend
yeah,
of bad video game movies, I'm still gonna watch it probably like opening night. I just kind of want to
I
experience that kind of thing.
it's either going to be so bad that I need to see it, or it's going to
Yeah.
be okay and I'll probably see it.
That's kind of my most fearful thing. It's just gonna be like okay, like you just kind of like it's such a forgettable film. I don't want a Sonic movie to be forgettable. That just doesn't sound right. It's
It
kind of
sounds like they want to set it up for a sequel, so I hope it's
yeah,
not forgettable.
yeah,
Um, so the idea that they're already planning a sequel is kind of bizarre. But
yeah. That's just kind of movie culture. I think these days it's just okay. How much? What can we actually sequelize this? Can we make more movies, more money? Like I
yeah,
like how they have about 10. They were like already before the full trilogy, the Star Wars trilogy was out, like or the newest
yeah,
one. They were already planning for 10, 11, 12. It was just like, oh my gosh.
no, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
See, like kind of okay with Star Wars sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
when George Lucas was writing all that stuff and all that and kind of came to fruition, he
Mm-hmm.
obviously it started as a trilogy because like it started on episode what
Well, episode
episode
4
three.
now, the chronology, yeah, it's episode 4.
But like, he originally knew it was episode 4. He just it had to be released as Star Wars because like why would you release a new movie and call it Star Wars Episode 4 when
Yeah, I'm trying to
there
never.
was no
I felt like he
episode?
wanted to be done after the first one, or something like that. Like it was literally at the first one. It's like okay, it's one film, but then I think more like movie producers like this was a huge hit. You got to make more sequels, so they made 5, 6, which thankfully he did because that really rounds out the whole trilogy, makes it a lot more fulfilling of an ending. And then I think
Yeah.
they were like, okay, now I think he had LucasArts or whatever by then. He was just like, okay, let's make another trilogy. And that kind of is the
Ooh.
prequels. That's what it is now. And then they got bought by Disney and they're like, okay, get George Lucas out of here. Now we're making 2 more trilogies.
So what's weird about the Disney trilogy is I feel like longtime fans don't really like it as much as people who are just like, oh, I like Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I feel like the I like Star Wars people definitely like the new movies, and that the people who are like longtime Star Wars fanatics are like,
Mm-hmm.
man, this isn't really right. Something's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
and I can see that, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it definitely exposes our movie culture where we don't really care that much about a continuum that makes sense, whereas
Mm-hmm.
we need another movie.
Yeah.
So
And what you're talking about, the continuum, I think I don't know how off topic we should get, but I think the Marvel studio I think did a perfect job with that because they actually had overseers and was like, what we're gonna do is go from one sequel to the next, and then it actually makes sense for this whole giant thing to happen.
yeah, I don't know what it is about the Marvel universe why they could do that so successfully.
Kevin Feige, he was the producer for pretty much every single
Yeah,
Marvel film, and he really was like the architect for the whole structure of it. And it was like, okay, we're gonna start here, and then hopefully we get to the end point because yeah, like hopefully that was the big thing about Iron Man 1 was we're hoping this is a success. If it's not, it's not gonna do. We can't really release
yeah.
anything.
Luckily, Iron Man was probably one of the best-selling movies in that whole continuum. So
Yeah, yeah. But now Endgame is probably gonna be the best or the highest grossing film of all time pretty soon, which is kind of insane.
I haven't even seen it yet. So
Yeah, you've probably seen spoilers by now, right?
yeah, I've seen like just
Yeah,
random pictures of like underwear and stuff. I'm like, what the hell does this connotate? Like, I see a hamburger.
yeah.
I see pictures of Fortnite. That's like, I'm like, what the hell?
Oh yeah, it's like the
I
spoilers without any context.
yeah, I just see
Those are the
pictures.
best
I'm like,
ones.
I appreciate that they're not just saying,
Yeah.
like oh, Iron Man does this or
Hmm.
X dies. Like,
Those are the
but
best spoilers. Yeah.
yeah, those are the worst. But
Yeah. Oh yeah, those ones
what
are the worst.
else?
Yeah. I think I covered. Well, we covered everything I wanted to talk about because I have a couple notes here, and I was just kind of looking at them every little bit. But I think everything
Cool.
was covered. We talked about the whole state of Sonic, the trailer itself. Okay, well, thank you guys.
Basically,
Oh wait, yeah, you
yeah,
can go. You can, yeah.
yeah. Just final word. Uh, Man, after the past few years, I've really been trying to keep a hold of this film. Like, I was like the first person to come in and say, "Oh man, guess who's gonna be in a Sonic movie? Jim Carrey." Like everyone's like,
Yeah, I was like,
"What?"
when I heard that, I was like, really? Like that
I was
seems.
like, and I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, "Look, there are a lot of sources I go to," and so I spent a lot of time really intrigued by this whole thing because there hadn't been a Sonic movie before, and I just hope that it comes out well. I don't mean to spread any hate on this movie. I just hope it comes out okay. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's. I think that's what everyone's hoping. I don't. I don't think anyone's like this movie should be bad. Like I hope
No.
not. I think it'd actually be awesome to have a really cool Sonic movie, even if it's not great. Just
Yeah,
having it
even
like fun.
even if it's totally different, like they've proved it to be, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly beyond slightly generic. Hopefully, it is at least spectacular in the way they want it to be, and
Mm-hmm.
if it can at least succeed in that, hopefully people like it.
Yeah, and I think that's the big hope. But guys, if you want to put anything in the comment section of what we missed or what you hope for the movie, put it there. Give this video a like and subscribe to the Cool Sky Around channel. Uh,
And check me out at Buster
oh yeah.
Premium Productions.
Wait,
You
what
can
was
see
that?
my Buster Premium Productions BPP. You can check out my parody video of the trailer if you
Yeah.
want.
You have to send me a URL, so I'll have to put in the description. I'll definitely have that in the description.
There you go.
And with that said, thank you guys for watching, and see you for the next Sonic podcast that may just go into random things.